Ryan Marchant, business manager.
I'm Kim Penman. I'm the parent community member.
All right, Karen.
Karen's muted.
Chris Jansen, school counselor.
I'm
Sarah.
Sarah Anderson, school counselor.
Okay, I think that's everyone. Thank you for being with us this morning, you guys. Teresa Olson has been excused for our meeting today. We wish her well. Hopefully everything goes well with her eye surgery.
Just couldn't see her way clear to come to the meeting.
Jeez, he's a comic also.
He's a
He
comic.
is. That's why he's our board president.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, well, let's see. So we've done the welcome and the roll call, right? And so first item on our agenda is the FY 22 financial report. Ryan, you have the items, so let's
Just want me
just
to roll from item to item. Rich,
Just-
is that what you'd like me to do?
Yep, and then we'll need a motion from the board for item number 2 and item number 3.
That's right. Well, thanks for being here, everyone. This is the financial report. And again, I think that we could actually, like bigger districts I know do this, we can give as much detail or as little. We can actually put it on a consent, almost as a consent, and you can just look at it and say, this is what it is. But let me give you some highlights here just really quick. I won't go through it quick because you probably just want the bottom line. But the bottom line is I can honestly say Fast Forward has never been this healthy financially in all of the years that I have been doing their books. And it is since the inception of Fast Forward. I am very pleased with the way Fast Forward is not only handling themselves in all areas, in my opinion right now, but out of all the charter schools that I'm working with right now, Fast Forward is, and this isn't understated, they're doing phenomenal up there. So we have a great net income this year, and our net income next year is going to even be better. So we have a real opportunity here to do some things, and we're going to do some things. And so we're finally taking care of, our building's been taken care of. We're going to put some money. So we've been in the building for 20 years. And it's been taken care of actually pretty well. You wouldn't know that it's a 20-year-old building if you walked into it, and you probably have been in it lately, but the roof is being replaced this year. We're going
Just be patient. It's not anything you've done. Cut it out.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
There he goes. I can't hear you, Ryan. Well, I'll keep going while we're waiting for Ryan to get back on. Can you hear us okay, Ryan?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. I'm trying to use my AirPods, and I don't know, something was going on. I was having some technical difficulties. Tell me, can everybody hear me clearly, I guess?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, we had a very good net income this last year. It was about $600,000. The school's doing well financially. We have, if you look through these, you can look at some of our expenses. We've held our expenses in checks. Our revenues have been above our projected budget, just simply because our enrollment has really gone well with some of the unique programs that Jill has implemented up there. And it's really appealed to a lot of kids in the Valley. And I think Fast Forward obviously has a great reputation. I think our board knows that, and kids want to come to school there. we retain students, and so it's doing really well. I'm really pleased with the efforts of everybody up there. Or we almost have $1 million in the bank. We're going to have over $1 million by the end of this month, it looks like, if according to my projections. So I mean, we're well above our cash reserves, what the state would require us to be. Our mortgage balance is, I mean, we're getting to the point where we could actually have a conversation of after next year. I mean, depending on what we do capital wise, but we could actually pay down a significant portion of our mortgage if we wanted to, and almost be debt free. So, and that would be a huge deal for the school too. So I feel good. We're actually, talking about debt service here for a second. Just let me kind of tell you there, we have about $2 million on our debt. It is at a fairly decent rate for fixed out for a significant period of time, if I remember right. So I don't think we're not really susceptible to huge interest rates that are going on right now. And I think if we decide that we want to refinance in a little bit, we can do that, depending on what rates are doing. But I think that we're in a good spot. I mean, essentially our mortgage payment is less than 5% of what our revenues are, and which is really good. So again, I'm really pleased with where Fast Forward is. So anyway, that's the financial report. I don't know if you want any more detail with that. I think that we've got good systems in places and good checks and balances up there. We have Kiss is on here, and she does a good job with running a lot of she's a very big help for me up there, so that we can have separation of duties where Jill's signing the checks and she's cutting them, and I'm reconciling the bank accounts, and then we're not charging any student fees, so we don't really collect any money that way. And that's great because it helps our students, and it's one less hassle that we have to do, and we don't have to be we're in compliance with the student fees, but we don't have a huge compliance piece, just simply because now if we do an activity, we just try and get kids to participate, and we pay for it. So I feel really good about that. I'm glad that we waived fees several years ago. I really am. And I think, Jill, speak for yourself, but I mean, I think that's been a good thing, right?
It has. It's been, I think, a really positive thing for families, especially families that transfer mid-year and they've already paid fees at another school. I don't know, as a parent, I hate paying fees at the high schools, but so I think it's been a really good thing for our families because it's very refreshing for them not to have to worry about coming up with additional fees, transferring schools. So
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's good. And I don't feel like we do activities and kids participate, and it's not like we're cutting budgets because we're not collecting a fee. I think if anything, we're trying to be a little more lenient on, providing the same services and maybe even better level of service. So just because we're not collecting a fee doesn't mean we're having a conversation saying where can we cut the expenses? We just aren't having those conversations. So anyway, that's kind of the financial report. Attached is also just kind of profit and loss by class. You can kind of scroll through that. Hopefully you've had a chance to see some of that. So we do have several restricted funds, and we spend those dollars where we need to. We have a great special ed team. We might have a little bit of a carryover for special ed just because our special ed funding has gone up significantly, and we probably, if we do have a carryover, it won't be a lot, but we might have a little bit. Our lunch fund is doing well. This next year, we will have to start collecting fees for lunch. So we probably will do, we will do that because this last couple of years, there hasn't been any fees for school lunch, as you guys are well aware. So any questions on this? Like I said, I'm very optimistic about the future of Fast Forward. I always have been, of course, but we've gone, as you know, over the years, we've gone through some pretty lean years, and it's been some tougher conversations where we've really had to manage. But now I think we're, and who knows what the future holds. I mean, there's always that in the back of my mind, and it should be in yours too, is, let's not blow through all of our money because you just never know what's going to happen, what's around the corner. So mine would always be optimistic, but yet I guess cautiously optimistic is, I guess, the way that I would put it. But I think that that's the way that we need to run it.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. And you've really started to answer all of the questions I have. It's uncommon in a meeting like this, I think, to have such a rosy outlook. And I think it's wonderful. And I applaud you, Ryan, and the school administration generally, and everything that's going on. It's amazing. After graduation, I had a number of people stop me and express gratitude. I take no credit. I have nothing. I've contributed very little, but it's obvious that that Fast Forward is greatly appreciated by students and families, community generally. So this is a very rosy picture in a world that isn't necessarily so rosy.
Right.
So I'm amid all of this good news, what is the least good news? What are the things a board should be thinking about in the future, paying attention to?
Yeah, that's a good.
What
Yeah.
should we?
Well, good question, Rich. There always should be some cautious in there, and then I think cautiously optimistic is probably where I come back to. But there there are a couple things that we need to be aware of. I think the biggest one is that the board would potentially change the rule from 990 seat hours. So we have to change a little bit of the way that we're actually doing things at Fast Forward. The reason that we can have such a good enrollment is we do have a good, robust online program, which is really well and helps a lot of students. And then we kind of do, Jill can talk a little bit about what we're currently doing with our schedule, and that's very helpful as well. So again, the State Board of Education, I think, is going to take up the 990-hour issue coming up. Jill, do you want to talk a little bit about that? I think that's one area that we could be a little cautious about. It's just kind of what, servicing the number of students and doing it well going forward. I think that's maybe one of the things we do need to talk about.
Yeah, so right now, this fall, the state school board has planned on discussing, currently they have no seat time rule. And they are planning on talking about it. They voted twice to continue with the no seat time rule. So currently for our students right now, that's been a good thing because our kids can be flexible and they can work and they can go to Bridgerland and do all the things that they're trying to do without worrying about being in school all day long. And I know there's two sides to that coin. Some parents that feel like their students, would benefit from a longer school schedule can, and we accommodate that as well by allowing parents to help tailor make every kid's schedule. That's something that I feel like our counselors, Karen and Sarah, have done an excellent job at, is tailor making every kid's schedule. And I think the word has gotten out on that, and parents love that they can kind of pick and choose when they would like kids to be in school and if they would like them to do some online portion, or they would like them to be at Bridgerland after their day here. So as they talk about following back on the seat time requirements, that will be something that we will look at and keep an eye on this fall moving forward, because our plan will change a little bit depending on what the state decides that needs to look like. So that's something that we're just keeping tabs on.
I think there's that. I try to address one of the other ones, where is our debt, our debt service with rising interest rates. If we had to refinance within the next, in fact, I'm going to pull up the terms of our debt right now. I looked at it the other day, but I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that so we know where we are. So give me one moment as I pull up the terms on our debt service right now at Cache Valley Bank.
And while you're doing that, you've mentioned that we're getting a new roof.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice that we have a cash reserve. Is there anything else related to the physical facility that we need to be thinking about in the near term or even in the medium term?
Jill, do you want to talk a little bit about what we talked about today and address that
Yes.
for just a moment, what we're going to do?
So we have got, we've been talking a little bit about having not for more students in the school, but to better service our students and our programs here, is looking at an addition onto the school. Ryan and I have been talking a little bit. We have an in-house, one of our, Sandy Hepworth, her husband is an architect, and we've started conversations with him to assist us with helping to decide where and how an addition to the school would look. So we've talked about that and are getting the ball rolling on that. Ryan's kind of getting our money stuff together and seeing how that would look for us. So we've talked about moving west of our building. We have the big filled out back we didn't really want to use, but we may end up using it. And we're looking at it like 3 classrooms and possibly a new gym space. So.
Is there, I'm knowing a little bit about where the school is located. 14th North is about to become maybe the busiest street in the county, only eclipsed by 10th West, which is a few hundred yards
Right.
from where you are. And I worry about access in and out of the building. Is there any possibility of developing some sort of an access to 10th West? Because turning east on 14th North, once Costco opens and a few other things, turning east on 14th North during many times of the day is going to become a real hazard, I think.
Yeah.
I agree. Larry's actually looking into some ideas for that. So you're saying an access to 10th West from our school.
Yeah, I don't know if you can share this with other property owners, but everybody ought to be a little concerned about this. And if you could go to 10th West, then you could maybe you could make a there and go east on. I don't know. Just thinking about access into and out of the building for students, parents, faculty. It just seems like we're going to be right in the middle of busiest intersections in the entire area.
I agree. It's very busy in the mornings trying to turn in here to school. So I'm going to look into that. Probably talking to UDOT and some other state county people. We'll look into that. And we also talked a little bit about, is there another place? I mean, is this the best place to continue at right here, where it being so busy and all the land, like Frank in our last meeting said that all the land across the street, Bridgerland bought up. And anyway, we've had some of those discussions, Ryan and I, so.
And it may be with, I assume that with Bridgerland is going to deepen and broaden. I'm wondering about, would it make sense to have a pedestrian overpass tunnel or something like that across 14th?
Yeah,
I wonder if we
I
could
agree.
petition the city on that.
It's
And
pretty dangerous out here.
that'd have to be a city issue, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
But
think
it's
so.
a thought.
Well, and with the stoplight that went in out here down the road, it's backed traffic way up, almost down to the end of Bridgerland parking lot. So in the afternoons, it's pretty chaotic.
I was there last night. And people going east on 14 North, going straight through, not turning right or left. It was taking 3 light cycles just to go straight. It was backed up all the way from 6th West to 10th West.
Yep, it's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, those are some things we'll look into, Rich. Thank you. I'm gonna ask Larry to look into those things.
Well,
So those are just a few projects that we've got in the works that we're looking forward to. So
well, I appreciate the outlook, Ryan and Jill. This is it's wonderful to be associated with an organization that is so fiscally responsible and looking to the future, preparing for the challenges we encounter. And I don't know that I've ever been affiliated with an organization that seems to be prepared to deal with an uncertain future than that. So thank you.
On our debt service, I looked this up. I'm on Cache Valley's Bank. We're at 4.15% interest, and we're locked into that until 2040. So we should feel very good about our debt service, I think, in the position that we are. I mean, at the time, we probably were a little above market at 4.15, but we're well below it now.
Mhm.
Our mortgage payment's $13,000 a month. So some people will be paying that for a house here shortly, it seems like.
oh,
Or gas.
So this is a crazy thought, but at that kind of interest rate, I suppose if we were to increase the mortgage, then that changes the terms and that it would affect the entire loan.
Well,
Yeah.
potentially it could. We could keep this deal here the way it is, and then we could just do a second on that, and then just have put that on a 5-year, so we could maybe get a better favorable term and wait for notes to come down. I mean, the idea, I think, is if we did some of this stuff, we would probably bring a fairly significant amount of cash on board, because we are, as you'll see, and this may be a good segue into the budget for next year, but we do according to the budget that I have, we are generating a significant amount of cash next year too. So I think that if we just maybe, by the time we break ground and stuff, we should maybe have, quite a bit of cash to be able to bring to a project like that, depending on what, of course, the bids come back at. If we get the bids back and it's been like building has been, it might give us pause, just because things are, as everybody knows, it's so expensive. And if interest rates are high and we can't do the whole thing with cash, and we're looking at a big rate. But again, I think that it's more likely that we could do it now than we have in the past. So there are some things that we need to look at, and we need to make sure that we're still cautious and not just go forward and do this just because. But I do think that, if we brought a significant amount of cash and then we were able to maybe put it not on a longer term note, but maybe on a shorter term note, and then just simply refinance that or pay it off when the funds became available, I think we could probably do that. So.
Well, I'm not very smart about these financial things, but it seems to me that the terms we have right now, this is, I don't know, do you folks refer to this as cheap money? And
yeah, this is right now. It certainly is. I mean, we're in a good position where we are. And so we have to be prudent going forward with the decisions that we make, but we are in a very, very good position with our debt right now. So.
Well, we almost make money by not paying off the mortgage early.
You're right. You're right. And that brings up a whole nother conversation, is our funds would probably be better spent on some other things besides paying down the mortgage at this point, just simply because it is in such a good interest rate. Yep.
Right. All right. Well, we don't need a vote on this issue, but we will on the next one. So do you want to launch into that?
Yeah. So this is our 2023 budget, and our final 2022, excuse me. This is our final 2022 budget. What you're looking at there, this one here on the screen is actually our 2023 budget. Can you go back to the Excel? There we go. That's it. Maybe just go all the way to the bottom. on that one. There you go. See the portion that's kind of highlighted there. It's in bold. That is kind of, so what you're looking at is our financial statement that we have, plus I've added in the July allotment plus June expenses, payroll accrual of 250 plus a pretty high depreciation number of $250,000. That's a non-cash item there, but we do have to still, our building is depreciating, but it's not depreciated at 250. So really what we're looking for is our total original budget was $3.1 million, but now we're looking to go to a 3.3 just to cover some depreciation so we can capture that. We do get hit on our audit if we're actually below that number. So I guess I've learned over the years to pad that number a little bit, because you can be over it by a mile, but if you're under it by a little bit, then you get written up on your audit. So I like I said, there's probably we're not going to hit the 3.3 even with depreciation, but I like to have that number a little bit higher. It won't affect our net income. We've got a good one because most of that, like I said, is either paid for in our June, but it's the depreciation. So I guess what I'm asking the board today is just approve a final FY22 budget of $3,315,392.
So I'll invite the board to consider introducing a motion. Is there anyone who would care to do that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the $3,315,392.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a second?
I'll motion to second. This is Kim Penman.
Thank you, Kim. We have a motion. It's been seconded. And the motion simply is to accept this final budget proposal of, I'm looking at it again, $3,315,392. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, if there be any? I hear none. I think the motion carries. And thank you very much. Now we're on to the considering the fiscal year 23 budget. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So this is our preliminary budget. And again, we'll come back to the board and update it as we need to. And we probably will again do something similar at the end of this next year like we did now. You can kind of see, I mean, that is the number that we're approving right now is 2.6. It's going to be higher than that just after we throw in depreciation and some additional expenses, probably with construction and stuff like that we haven't put in here, depending on what we do. So I have put capital here just because the number will come. So like I said, this is an original budget based upon what we know now. Main thing that we really want to know is, that revenue number that we have at the top, that is from the state. So we're firm on that number. Is at least going forward for next year, that we'll be real close to that number. So that revenue number, I feel pretty confident in that will be our revenue number. Again, I think we're showing a net income here that's maybe a little bit inflated because we will have some additional expenses in there that we're just not showing at this point. I just want you to be aware of that because I think we're showing about $1 million net income, and I don't think that that's actually going to happen. But we could see a $600,000 or $700,000 one depending on what we do. So the real thing I want everybody to know is that you can look at the wages. We've individually, put everybody out there. We're not trying to hide anybody's wage. You can look and see what people make, see what I make, Jill makes, everybody. We really did go through a pretty strong negotiation this last year with a lot of teachers. And I would say, and Jill can speak to this too, but I would say that we're pretty close to being on par with the school districts with this. Teachers are making more now, and that's a good thing. And so we try to compensate our teachers very fairly. We understand that we're in competition with, the districts as far as pay goes, and that's our teachers have benefited from that. And so we brought several of our teachers up significantly, or at least have tried to over the years, try to bring that up. And the general attitude, at least what I see, just so you know, as a board, is that teachers like it at Fast Forward and they want to stay. And so there is a threshold where, if the pay's not there, they will leave, but we've always been able to be close enough or maybe and match. And so I think that they, like I say, we don't have a lot of turnover because we are able to, and because we have more resources now, it's easier conversations to have. But all those contracts that you see there have been signed. We just want to make the board aware of that. Then you can see kind of what our expenses are as far as benefits go, and then below the line items that we have there. And again, some of those things change, but our total expense at the end of the year is 2.648334. Again, our debt service is low, so we only pay about $159,000 debt service, which is, like I said, about 4.6% of our income, which is really good. So again, that's a proposed budget with a net income of a little over $1 million. Again, that's not, in my opinion, we won't reach that number. We'll be below that, but that's what we're showing as a preliminary budget.
So Ryan, is there anything in this budget that is a dramatic departure from previous years that might indicate we should be aware of?
No, not really. I mean, wages have gone up. I think that's the big thing, and benefits will too. Ironically enough, and I was very surprised to see this, but the state retirement fund didn't go up, especially with what's been going on in the market. They kept the level flat, that number. So that has been level for a lot of years, and we've benefited from that. I do suspect that with what's going on in the market right now, we will see probably a fairly significant increase in what we put into the retirement fund next year, just to cover some of their losses. That number could go up substantially next year. Everything is going up. I did put more in there for utilities, of course, and I did bump things up just because things are costing more with inflation. So I try to bump as much as we could, maybe 8 to 10% where that inflation number is. Things are just more expensive. We don't do a lot of driving. We don't do busing, so that's good. We don't have to worry about a huge gas bill because our students either are online or they drive themselves to school. So, Jill, anything else you want to add to that discussion?
No, I don't think so.
And it looks like, once again, I'll just say this is a conservative budget. We're not operating on the edge, which we have come to appreciate because your plans and forecasts have always allowed for the kinds of changes that we may experience, and it looks like we've got room in this budget should things change. This is a preliminary budget to get us at least moving toward the next year, and that's great. Do we have any questions from the board about the budget?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
Well, maybe we're ready to entertain a motion to approve the budget.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the budget.
That sounds like Lynn.
That's him.
A second?
I'll second it. Kim Penman.
Thank you, Kim. Okay. The proposal to accept this budget has moved and seconded. Any further question by anyone? In that case, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor of the motion, please indicate some way, waving, saying aye, something else. Aye? Yes? Any opposed? Okay, this motion passes as well. So let's see, I got to get back to the agenda. Now, I believe we're to our counseling review. Is that correct?
Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Ryan.
Sarah, were you going to share? Do you want to screen share?
Yeah. So I just, okay, here we go. Okay, can you guys see that okay? Okay, so I'm Sarah. I'm one of the school counselors. And I also have the opportunity to work with some really fabulous people that help collect our data in the Student Center, Utah State University tutors that come down and work through a work study program and help with various different things at our school. They help run some programs here, and they help run a academic intervention program. So I'm going to try to kind of go through this as quickly as possible, this slideshow, but if there's any questions, please stop me. And then I want to share the data project that we did for the counseling review recently. So this just kind of goes over our mission statement in the Student Center, just that are from the tutors that come down that work with our students at Fast Forward. They're both enriched. Tutors are able to kind of be mentors to our students and help them one-on-one with tutoring, or show them, what higher education can be like, help them seek employment with various different things.
Hey, Sarah, it's not showing the slides,
Oh, you're kidding. I'm sorry.
but just, yeah.
Is it now?
No.
That's weird. It says I'm sharing my screen. Let's see. Let me try this again. I'm sorry. So can you still not see it?
No, it just
Mhm.
shows you.
Okay. That's weird. So,
Okay, go to your screen share.
While we're waiting for Sarah, Karen, do you want to talk a little bit about what your data project looks like? Sarah in the Student Center tutors work tirelessly with our students, helping them in collecting data.
There it goes. Does it?
Yep.
Is that working?
Yes.
sorry, that's weird. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll try that. I might need you for the second part too. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, it'll be over a minute. Okay, so this is the mission statement I was just kind of going over. And again, I want to be as brief as possible because I know everybody's got limited time. So in our intervention, academic intervention program, we try to kind of model a MTSS approach to where tier one, we have tutors like in the classrooms, and they might be helping everybody, just circulating just like the teacher would do. Tier two is going to be directed more towards smaller groups. And specifically tier two are students that have at least one failing grade, so a D or F. And then tier 3 would kind of mirror something like a more intense, smaller group. So more one-on-one interventions. And that might be a student that is failing at least 2 or more classes. And so this data was actually taken when we went into school shutdown. So you'll kind of see that in term 3, when we went into school shutdown, some of the statistics are a little bit skewed that way, like they're lower. So anyway, this one right here kind of tracks, this is the number of students that were tracked per term. So this is in classroom versus online. So you can kind of see that, students were doing a little bit better, as you can predict that in the school getting more supports, even though we were actually reaching out to students that were on the low achievement report online as well. And so in term 1, term 1 and term 6 are going to be a little bit lower, and that's just due to we receive our Utah State University tutors about 2 to 2.5 weeks after we start our school year. So in order for them to start tracking students, they go through their own orientation. They go through an orientation here. They have to complete a background check, and then they start the training process on how to track students. And that's, they get a lot of one-on-one interaction with supervisors and the coordinators, the student center coordinator, on how to do that. This just shows the attendance. So we track the attendance of individuals coming into the student center. So this is broken down by term, and you can see attendance is really low, term 1. And that might be because we bring in a lot of new students every year, and so they might not know what the student center is right off the bat. And then also we don't have the supports for the academic intervention until almost until term 2. And then this slide just kind of shows the academic success for online platforms versus in-person platforms. So you can kind of see the pattern for term 1 versus all the way to term 6, that students are doing a little bit better when they're in person. These slides just break down individually term 1 through 6. And so you can see the age group from freshmen. The blue indicates in person and the pink indicates online. So that's term 1, term 2. And then you can see for term 3, we eventually had everybody go online because of the shutdown. And then term 5 and 6. So this is, I kind of want to draw your attention to this slide, because this is where the counseling department, me and Karen kind of got together, and we just kind of disaggregated, I guess, if you will, to find out what age group needed the most academic intervention here. So this is student progress throughout the school year, and this is individuals that were attending in person. So you can see down at the bottom, it ranges from term 1 to term 6. Freshmen definitely plummeted when we went into a shutdown. So when we were online, they kind of struggled the most, but then they were able to kind of do better as the school year progressed. I thought this was interesting. So the sophomores kind of stayed lower consistently over all the other age groups. So they didn't really plummet, they didn't really skyrocket, but they were just kind of below everybody else consistently through the school year. So that kind of drawed our attention to, okay, so if sophomores need more academic supports, what do we need to do to help them, or they would be our target group, basically. And then this slide just kind of shows the progression or decline for online students only through the school year. So some observations, like I mentioned, we just overall sophomores seem to be the target group we wanted to hone in on to see if we could raise their academic success level. So we decided to go with sophomores, and we decided we wanted to increase by 5%. And with these projects, even I think 5% was kind of a hefty goal. But I thought, let's start with 5% and see if we're able to reach that. And And interesting enough, I just calculated the data from this school year, and we actually were able to increase, so it increased to 8.73%. So we did meet our goal. And we haven't even moved into our goal yet, but I just wanted to see if we did it for this school year. So, and then the other achievement driven goal is we wanted to try to increase all students by 3%. So frequency is, what frequency means is it's how many times each individual tutor is approaching their students that they're tracking, whether that be through email, in person, collaborating with the teachers, the SPED department, the counseling department to see what they can do to promote academic success in their students. So that's kind of, this slide kind of just breaks down what frequency might look like for a tutor. And it's everything, and our tutors do all of these things. So they're available to set up Zoom calls, they email and text parents. They're always collaborating with teachers, the counseling department, even admin at times, to try to set goals for the academic success of our students. So this kind of shows you a snapshot of the frequency that was taken that year. So term 1 is going to look lower because they don't start until about halfway, almost the end of term 1. And then it goes up, during the school year when they are trained and get familiar with the students in the program and know how to do it. And then it kind of tapers down and goes down in frequency term 6. And that's because we lose our USU tutors the very first part of May. They're done. So, and their job here is is contingent on the funding for their program, which ends when their school year does. And then here, this slide just kind of goes over the goals. So the Student Center wanted to set goals. They set goals for themselves too, as tutors and supervisors and the coordinator. So they wanted to improve the overall student pass rate by 2%, 9th through 12th grade, and increase the frequency of academic intervention to a minimum of once per week over a 6 terms, 6-week term. And then improve the communication between the Student Center and faculty. They like to introduce the tutors to the faculty in possibly twice a year. So at the beginning of the year, and then, maybe during the fall, the spring. So once they have their fall semester and spring starts, we always get new tutors. Sometimes the fall tutors might quit. Sometimes they might stay on. Sometimes it's due to funding, but we always typically get new tutors in the spring. And so that's when they thought that they would like to do another, present in another faculty meeting, just kind of like what they do in the Student Center, who they are, their expertise, how they can help students. And then promote Student Center resources to students, specifically those students that are new to our school, so they know the resources available to them. And then also they wanted to create more incentives for students to increase attendance or academic success. So things like good grades, they might enter into a raffle drawing, or their attendance is great that term, and they might, enter into a drawing or get a prize or something like that. Okay, so from this data project that the Student Center kind of put together, we created, like I mentioned before, our target goal, which then was used in our data project for the review, which I would just like to share with that real quick, if I can figure out how to do it. So hold on a second. Let's see. Did that work?
No.
Okay.
We saw it briefly.
See it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is the accountability and data project that the counseling department put together. What we did here is we kind of did a long-term data project. We wanted to see, first of all, if our academic intervention is working, is successful. And so we gathered data from 2018 to 2021. And this is just a before and after picture of the academic intervention. So it's broken up not only into these years, but also by term. So all year long. So you can see the blue is before students have any academic intervention. And then the percentage of pass rate that students are at after the intervention has taken place. So from that data, we were able to determine that, yeah, it's working. It's a good program, but then we wanted to try to figure out why sophomores are kind of having a harder time academically. So we set a goal to try to increase our sophomores percentage pass rate by 5%. And we, like I mentioned earlier, we actually are going to put this in place this coming school year, to try to figure out if we can increase that. And I kind of just figured out the numbers from this school year, and we were able to increase it by up to 8.73%. So anyway, I don't know. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
So the program will continue through the coming year. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the sophomores will still be our target group for now.
So it'll be interesting to see if you're following these same kids or many of the same kids. We're going to find out if it's a sophomore issue or if it's a specific cohort issue.
Yeah, I agree. And that's interesting actually, because this was during the pandemic. And so it very much could be that, the sophomore group was struggling during COVID and during shutdown. And so we'll see if it improves or they're still struggling, or maybe it's 9th graders instead of 10th graders. So that will be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you're doing this. This is
Really interesting.
I think it would also be interesting, probably would be a fairly straightforward analysis to do to see if there's a relationship between the frequency of these interactions, kind of a measure of the density of your independent variable, to see what the relationship is with overall improvement. So you can see if, as visits increase, performance also increases. It'd be fun to do.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Student Center set that goal, because we know the more that we interact with the students and when they're in person, we see success. And so, yeah, I think the more frequency we can give the students and supports, the better that they do.
Yeah.
So, Karen, you help me with this project. Do you have anything that you want to add or?
No, I think that what we've been doing has been really, really good to see the actual hard numbers. I mean, we know that when kids aren't here, they don't do as good, and especially our population of students. So I love the fact that Sarah really is good at data. I will say that's one of my weaker areas. And so this has been a really good project that we presented to we had our interim review this year, which is a 3-year review. We had other schools that came and did our counseling review, and they were very impressed that we had this kind of data. and that we did more than one data project actually. And one thing that we are working towards next year also is seeing how tracking our new credit recovery program with our Friday projects. And so that's going to be really interesting to see if that helps kids, helps our graduation rate and all of those things. So I just really appreciate all that Sarah has done.
Well done. Way to go.
That's
Thank you.
impressive.
I always get a little bit excited when people present data. And then when we can use those data to inform decisions and guide us, that's a good thing. So way to go.
Thank you.
Rich, I did let Sarah know that you're the data guru, and so that you love these things. So she got excited about that too.
Well, good. We're all just a little giddy about this then, aren't we? This is fun.
It's great.
So are we moving on to the next item?
Yes. Good job, you two. We sure appreciate these two ladies. They work very hard. Sarah's a new addition to our counseling team, moving in from the student center, and she has picked up and done a great job. So, and
Well, that's wonderful.
yep, been a
See?
good addition to Karen's team. So
Adding to the overall capacity and reputation of Fast Forward. Well done.
Yeah.
See, it's why we love the school. You attract such talented folks and they do such nice work.
they do a good job. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And you ladies are welcome to stay on if you want, or you're welcome to. I know you've got some other things you're working on. So if you need to skedaddle, we will let you do so.
Part of this exciting meeting.
Yes. Okay, well, I will get started here with our LEA licensing, LEA specific licensing. The state has made it possible for us to hire teachers with the educator shortage that do not have a teaching license, but part of that agreement is that they get their license, and we have got a program set up to help teachers get those licenses and be successful and continue in their teaching career. So the state likes us to have a policy on what that looks like. And we also have to post to our website what the teacher, basically who the teachers are that don't have their teaching license yet. So this is just kind of what this document is just we need to approve this policy on LEA specific licensing. So LEA specific basically says, I am covering this teacher and their training until they get their license from the state. The school is saying, yes, we agree that this educator is okay and is working toward licensure. So we currently have 2 teachers that will have their LEA specific licenses this year. And usually the LEA specific licenses are 3 years or less. So that is Jason Olson and Tyson Budge.
Okay.
Do you have any questions on this?
No.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically all of our teachers that have the LEA specific licenses will be going through Salt Lake Community College to earn their teaching license. So,
I see.
and these 2 individuals have bachelor's degrees. That's part of what the state says we can do is if a candidate has a bachelor's degree, just not a license, then they allow us to hire those individuals and help them get their license. So we actually have a lot of people that are interested in doing this. It's a little bit of work on their end and a little bit of money. But if we have a good person that's willing to do it, we usually make it work out. So right now we've got some really good people on board. So any questions on this?
Good.
No,
I don't.
makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we just need to vote on this policy.
Oh, so this one does require some action. The agenda
Yes.
for me doesn't have which items require action. I noticed the one that you displayed at the beginning of the meeting does. So you give me a little guidance, but
Yes. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Rich, that's my fault. I should have put those on there. I apologize.
No, I
Oh.
I guess we can forgive him once.
yes. No, we send out a board meeting agenda and
Yeah.
just with the items on it, but
Yeah, I'll make
it
a
was
note
this
of
morning.
that.
So this is the
Okay.
only one. This is the last one that needs action, Rich.
okay. So do I hear a motion to approve this LEA specific license and policy statement? Is that a correct way of saying it?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the LEA specific licensing information and policy.
Thank you, Lynn. A second?
I'll second it, Kim Penman.
Thank you, Kim. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion of this item? Hearing no additional questions, then I will invite a vote. Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the time when we don't do this via Zoom. It seems so, I don't know, but votes and discussions are all a little bit more awkward under these circumstances.
Well, let's plan on this fall when we get back together. Let's plan on getting together in person.
All right.
Good.
Great.
Of course, that does mean I'm going to have to get out of my pajamas for the meeting.
Dang it.
But hey, that's a small price to pay.
Small price to pay.
All right, move on to the principal's report.
Okay, so I don't have any slide associated with my report. I just wanted to give you a rundown of how graduation went. You guys were all there. You know, it was huge. We had standing room only. We had more graduates than ever. Karen updated me that we had 21 juniors graduate and 115 total graduates, which is huge, our most graduates ever. So our counselors have worked tirelessly along with our teachers to get kids where they need to get. We've had a more team effort in getting kids to graduation. Not that it hasn't always been a team effort, but teachers are more aware of where kids are at with credits and where they, what they need to get each year. Karen and Sarah have done a really good job getting information out to teachers and sharing that with them. So they're part of the, not just graduation, but they're part of the credits and what kids need to do to graduate and what it takes for our counselors to make individual plans for each student. So graduation was a huge success. We really appreciate you guys being there. We've grown out of that facility, unfortunately. So we are looking at, I think it's now the Danes Concert Hall up at Utah State. And I think that holds 1,300, I want to say. So we will be having graduation there next year to house all of our families. So it was great. It was a huge success. I just wanted to take a minute and talk about our students that we had speak at graduation. Our little valedictorian has worked very hard. She transferred from another school and was just a little ray of sunshine everywhere she went in the school, always smiling, kind to everyone. She was a fun valedictorian to have. And our, excuse me, our Phoenix Award winner this year is the most amazing, one of the most amazing students I've ever met. He has been with us his entire high school career and has a little goat farm. And his family are, Karen, are you still on? Correct me if I'm wrong. They are Jamaican. I think they're immigrants. And his father got his hand cut off this year in a horrible accident at work.
Oh,
And Jaheim, bless his heart, he's the single father, and it was just Jaheim and his father. And Jaheim was given the task of caring for his father medically, trying to keep the wound cleaned. And I mean, this boy went through quite an ordeal this last year, but has always been cheerful and kind and would do anything to help any of our students, welcome new students to the building, gave them tours. Karen, Phil, you're still on. Fill in what Jaheim had kind of went through this year.
Well, he's always just so kind, and he would do anything that we asked him to do. With taking over the things he had to help with his dad, he had to literally, take his dad to and from the hospital, get his bandages changed. We saw a lot of things happen with Jaheim in this. He didn't get really good response from some of the medical people, and he came to us and just was distraught and just said, how do I help my dad? And yet then he had the task of telling his father's parents what happened, and they live in Vegas. And that's why Jaheim, he just really transferred into this adult world. And he through it all, he just had the best attitude. He just said, I've learned that I can do things that are really hard, and that I need to step up and be that kind of person all the time. It was just really inspiring to hear him talk when he came back to visit with us right before graduation. And he just let me know just a few days ago that he is going to apply to go to college. At first, he didn't think he could leave his dad and leave their family farm down in the Vegas area. And his dad said to him, this was the text message that I had gotten from Jaheim this week. He just said, I want you going to school. You don't need to stay and be a goat farmer. And so he's going to go live with some family in Alabama and try some schooling. He's super nervous, but he did say, he said, I always know I can reach out to my Fast Forward family. He said, I know that I have people there that care. And gosh, that just made me really teary, because that kid, that's what we want. When kids leave, we want them to know that we're with them wherever they go.
Thank you. So that was
Thank
just kind of a little tidbit. You don't hear very much during the graduation ceremony, but my heavens, that boy is amazing. I guess he's a man now, but anyway, thanks, Karen. They might have any other questions. That was kind of I think I've updated you on almost everything else kind of happening here at the school. Does anybody have other thoughts?
Well, let me
Questions?
just, that what you have shared is another example of why we all continue in our association with Fast Forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'd
pretty neat.
I'd just like to say I got so emotional. I just couldn't, I sit and I reflected back at the beginning when there was but a handful of kids, and I don't know, seeing that many kids and their families at that graduation, I just compliment you, Jill, and all of you that work there. It's, well, what a blessing to these young people to have this school in their lives is just a powerful blessing. And I want to thank you and all the teachers and all of those that work out there. You're just to be commended. I love you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn. We sure appreciate you. I can't take credit for this. We have a great team here that loves these kids, and we definitely are a one-of-a-kind institution. And Rich, you might be interested to know there's a meeting this afternoon on alternative schools, or with the state for alternative schools, and how so many of them are going into, the turnaround mode, and if there's a better way to look at this, that the state could look at these alternative schools rather than, them going into turnaround mode constantly. So that was kind of an interesting, I'm interested to see how that meeting goes and what's said. So anyway.
Well, I would like to echo what Lynn said. We've been around for a while and affiliated with the school for some time. But
Yeah, 20 years.
yeah, the last couple of years have been a little bit more, I don't know. And it's not just because of the pandemic. Last year with my own granddaughter graduating from Fast Forward, and then this year, I don't know, things have just become more personal, I suppose. And I'm more grateful all the time for the work that all of you folks are doing. So Lynn said it well, and I'll just say, yep, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we also had one little extra tidbit. We had 3 first generation high school graduates graduate this year.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
good work happening here. So anyway, we appreciate your support. We couldn't do it without your support. So
No.
thank you guys for meeting with us.
Well, thank
thanks
you.
Thanks for some of our board members that have been here for, all of our board members, but we have some really seasoned board members, and truly, I don't think we would have gotten through those first few years without them. And
Yep. They
both, I wish we could compensate in some way. I don't know if we probably could, but you guys have been phenomenal. And I actually texted Eric at Fast Forward graduation. I said, look at this, and I actually thought we should invite Eric, see if he wants to get on the board. I know at one time he kind of left and was done, but he got pretty sentimental about it. He says, tell Rich and tell those guys, how much I miss those guys, and Rich and Lynn, and they're just great guys. And so anyway, I just wanted to pass that along, and for what you guys have done too. So he's got fond memories of that.
Well, that's fun. Give him our best.
No.
What's
I
that?
feel we're compensated every moment.
Even if it's not here on this earth. But
that's a nice statement, Lynn. And I appreciate that you referred to us as seasoned. As would be a lot easier for you to tell it the way it is.
Well, you guys are, you bring gravitas to our board. You guys have got a lot of experience, so we appreciate that.
You're kind. Well, we could continue this Mutual Admiration Society, or we can say, let's save our energy for the next meeting. And if there's nothing else that needs to come before this board, I'm going to declare this a finished meeting. We okay with that?
Yep.
Thank you all, and we'll wait to
Thank you.
hear about when we get together next. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
See you soon. Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Care.
Bye.